Welcome back. CP24 live at noon. Well, Dave Perry is the CEO of Investigative Solutions Network. Before that, he was a member of the Toronto Police, serving for 27 years with the Homicide Squad, Sex Crimes Unit, and Sexual Assault Squad. I'm glad you're here, Dave. You've been here many times on CP24. Sad day. Let me ask a few questions. First of all, where were you when you heard the news yesterday morning, and what was your reaction?
I was actually driving into work, and it came over the radio. And about the same time it came over the radio, the big police family started reaching out, and my BlackBerry just rang constantly all day.
Really?
Yeah.
Now, you didn't know Sergeant Russell, but I understand you knew his father.
I knew his father, yes. Yeah.
And you know of him, though. Sorry, of Sergeant Russell. He was, as the chief said, well liked and a very, very good cop.
Yeah, every report. I mean, I think the pictures that we saw in the news and the paper of him tells the story. You know, the big smile, the proud father, the you know, committed husband, and everything else. And I've talked to a lot of officers that worked with him and knew him quite well, and they all loved him dearly.
So you were with the force for 27 years. You haven't been with the force for a few years.
Right.
Did you still have that sinking feeling in your gut when you heard the news?
Absolutely. It never changes. I've been retired 7 years now, and I still consider myself a police officer and a member of the big police family. Most of my friends are police officers. You know, my kids grew up knowing police officers, and it becomes a part of your life that never leaves you.
There's a story that I read this morning I wanted to ask you about. It was in the Globe and Mail, and the very always impressive Christy Blatchford was writing about this, writing about what you're describing, the family and the camaraderie and how people pull together. At the end, it was amazing. She said Sergeant Russell's father, who was in Florida on holiday, does not fly, was driving back, or is driving back, I don't know if he's arrived in Toronto yet, and all of a sudden police cars appeared.
Right.
They're giving him an escort back to Canada.
Yeah, I didn't hear that, but I wouldn't be surprised. I can tell you right now that he would have been notified by local law enforcement, police officers in Florida.
Oh, really? That's how it would have happened? No one from Toronto would have called? It would have been...
They may have called eventually, but I think he probably would have got a personal visit first.
Oh, I see.
That's normally the way we notify really anybody, but you know, we're going to take some care when it's the father of a police officer who's died in the line of duty. But you know, he'll be afforded anything that we can, you know, ethically and morally do for him and his family to support him. But we're all going to reach out. But
it shows that's not just Toronto or GTA or Ontario or Canada,
right,
that, you know, they all of a sudden just appeared along the route.
Absolutely.
And as Blatchford describes it, and she's always accurate, they're just doing it voluntarily.
Yeah. Much like we do for our Canadian soldiers when they're returned, and they're killed in the line of duty. Police officers are exactly the same. I think what happens here is that we are around death and understand death better than most people, and it becomes a part of who we are in terms of supporting anybody who's lost a loved one. And you know, we deal with victims throughout our careers, but when it's a fellow police officer or brother or sister police officer, we all take the time to do what we have to do to show our respects.
I'm going to take a break here, but I just want to have you think about this. You said police officers are always part of death. You see it. And I just want to get your reaction to how the officers yesterday would have been doing the work on the investigation, because I know they're very professional. We'll talk about that. We're going to take a break and come back with more from Dave Perry. Stay with us. And we're back. There was Mayor Ford speaking at the graduation of 42 new recruits. I'm here with Dave Perry. The mayor was talking about the courage, the sacrifices, said that the family should also be proud of these new recruits. And in the background, we heard babies.
Yeah, that's always the part that gets us through a terrible time like this, is that you know, as one life goes out, another life comes in. And as tragic as this is, having family and babies and children around is going to make this somewhat a little bit easier for all of us to handle.
What would you say if you were there today, or the fact that you're on TV right now and some of these recruits will see this later on? What advice would you have to them? What would you tell them? 42 new police persons coming into the force.
Well, I would want these new recruits to look at the sacrifice that was made yesterday by Ryan Russell, and to pick up his badge and his honor and carry it on, and not to have this frighten you in any way or sway you from your decision of becoming a police officer, but to go out there and to serve with the same kind of distinguished honor that he did, and full pride.
That's a very very astute statement, Dave. I mean, it's like, if I could relate it, it's like President Obama last night speaking at the ceremony in Tucson. He said, we honor the dead, but then he said this should be turned into an opportunity for statesmanship and for citizenship. And so to honor the death of Sergeant Russell yesterday, as you said, carry out the badge and treat it with honor and do your duty.
Absolutely. We can't let his death be in vain. I mean, he served the public in a very brave and courageous way. And like every police officer, goes out day to day knowing that this could be the potential outcome. This one's insane. What happened here is so tragic over a stolen snowplow. That's no fault of this fine officer. That just happened to be the situation that he was put in.
Let me ask you then about the professionalism of the other officers, because the Toronto Police has to did investigate this homicide, the accused charged with first-degree murder. How must they have felt yesterday when they were following this guy? They didn't know that that Sergeant Russell had passed away, or whether he had or not by then, but there was a serious damage.
Right.
Your professionalism must be very, very difficult to maintain. We understand they did. But isn't that bad?
Well, you know, it's through training and you know, having a high ethical standard in policing like we do in Canada, and especially in Toronto. It's probably the best police service in the world. And the officers executed their duties with a lot of restraint. And
it must be restraint to hold back those emotions.
Absolutely. And as things move on with the investigation, it's now in the hands of the homicide squad. And these investigators, like the rest of us, their focus is now on making sure that they do their job and they do it very professionally and do it well. And again, they're going to do that for Sergeant Russell.
Dave Perry, thanks a lot for coming in today and sharing with us your experience and what it must be like.
My deepest condolences not only to the family but to the entire Toronto Police Service.
Yep, absolutely. From us as well. It is 12:56, minus 9 degrees.